Good morning. This is Rob Skiff. I'm the CEO and founder of Oplerno, and this is the second day of Woodblock 2014. You can check out our agenda at oplerno.wikispaces.com and look up Woodblock 2014 and the schedule. Right now I'm going to be giving a talk on thinking about skills and courses. I'm talking with you about our transcript and our portfolio system that we're developing. And in addition, we'll be going on to our wiki and going over some of the different things that we've got in terms of course development and background for classes and accreditation. And finally, I'll be showing you a little bit, suggesting about ways in which you can work with your team remotely to get people sharing data, sharing messages and tasks, and organizing yourself so you can create your own certificate and degree program. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is I'll share my screen, which I've made sure there is nothing on the screen but good stuff for my presentation. So today, yesterday we talked about creating a certificate and degree program. Oh, sorry, I should have also said that if you have a question, please send it to questions@oplerno.com. You can also tweet us questions at #Woodblock or tweet them directly to Oplerno, which is our Twitter account. All right, so let me start over. So yesterday we talked about creating a certificate and a degree program. We talked about the different numbers of classes you're going to need for that program, and we also in the afternoon workshopped a program on sustainability that people are visiting and working on right now on our wiki, but also people talking about some of the issues related to sustainability on our Canvas accounts that we use by our faculty. So after you've created the degree and the certificate program, the issue is becoming what's the best way to document what you know. Generally in the past, sort of the history of education has been about receiving a diploma, receiving a certificate, receiving some type of title. In other words, you go from being an apprentice to being sort of a master, and that's actually one of the origins of where we get the notion of the master's degree. It means that you have the ability to teach someone in that particular area or a skill. You were a master craftsman, you were a master teacher, you were a master blacksmith. But today and in the past, of course, carrying around samples of your work to different new cities you might move to or new countries was rather difficult, so you generally use these things called certificates, okay, that were signed by the different people and with a seal affixed in wax that said, I've gone to a particular system, I have these people are signing off on my knowledge, and I am a master of X, okay? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the transcripts and what does that mean, and what information is actually conveyed by giving a certificate and by receiving a title. And today we live in a very different age, and there are a couple of extra things that are going on with information technology and with pedagogy and data storage, where we can really do what the original kind of diploma or the title that you received, what the original intent was, which was some way to show off the particular work and the knowledge that you have, and that's by a portfolio system. So let's talk about, you've got the degree, you've got the diploma, but let's talk about our modern system of showing how you know something or what you've done, okay, in terms of your knowledge curriculum. I'm going to increase the screen size here. Okay, I hope it's visible. This is a transcript. This is generally the way in which this is a made-up transcript from I'm pretty sure a made-up university somewhere in California, and this is a transcript of an individual in terms of the courses that they have taken and the grades they have received. Okay, and this kind of this does represent a let's say the person has received their BA. This represents the total of courses that they've taken and the kind of the sum total of knowledge. And when we start looking at it, okay, and we take a look at some of the classes. I hope you guys can see it. So you see this Intro to Computer Science. Now, and the person received an A, and they got, you show the number of credits. Now, the credits are going to indicate roughly that the person spent 3 hours in some type of classroom, hopefully, or in a lab experience, learning how to do, learning the basics about computer science, and the person received an A. You really have no idea, well, what exactly did they learn? What exactly were the skills that they learned in that Intro to Computer Science class? Now, if I wanted to, I could maybe I could find the professor, but, oh, goodness gracious, they don't even list the professor here, okay? They give the course number. They show that it was taken in the fall of '89. There's a grade. We don't know what skills. We don't know the syllabus. We don't know the professor. Was it a good professor? Was it a bad professor? Was it a tenure track professor who was there on their last 3 years before retirement, or was the person there? Was it an adjunct who wasn't paid a fair wage? No clue. We do know that the person got an A. Can we look at their work and see that they've taken a class, what they learned in computer science? No, you can't do that. Now this is an interesting one. General Education 100, University Life. Okay, what is that? What does that mean? Oh, they got an A in it. We also have no way to tell what other students received in terms of a grade. What was the distribution? Is this the type of institution where all the students are above average? Okay, where everybody gets the A? A way to look at this transcript and to see the person is actually accomplished in. Now, that's a big problem, okay? Especially if you're asking for a job, okay, trying to find a job, and especially if you're a student and you're trying to gauge at, well, is the education that I'm paying for really worth it, okay? What exactly have I learned, okay? I received a B+, New Testament literature. You know, we all know, we've all gotten courses where our grade has been not, where we didn't get the A, but we learned a tremendous amount. And we actually learned more potentially than the person who got an A, okay? And we're actually more competent about a bunch of different things than the person who received the A on the multiple guess exam at the end of the term, okay? So this could be the case of this B+, which looks like, when you compare it to the other courses, that doesn't look like they did as well, but actually they might have done extremely well because maybe that professor just gives 1 or 2 A's over the course of the year, and this person got a B+, which means that they were in the top 10% of the class. So you see how the transcript, it doesn't really document what exactly you're supposed to do, what exactly you've learned. You have no real understanding of the academic rigor, and you have no real understanding of the quality of the instruction you're receiving. Okay, I hope I've made my point there with the current transcript. Instead, what we've got now is starting to see worldwide in a lot of companies is the development of skills portfolios and webs of knowledge. Okay, now a skills portfolio is really simple. It's a list of skills that you're supposed to master. It is also something that in some ways records examples of you practicing the skill. Okay. And for Oplerno, we're adding 2 different pieces to the skills portfolio. Okay, not only is the skills portfolio that we're developing going to show a web of knowledge, okay, but it's going to allow students to upload examples of skills to a common to their own account, so that they can show potential employers, or show their family or friends or whomever they would like to share the portfolio with examples of mastering particular skills and concepts. Okay, so you upload it, and that uploading is also, the fact that you mastered a skill is signed off by the faculty member. Okay, so yesterday we talked a lot about one of the emphasis on developing a certificate and a skills portfolio was, one of the things that you needed to create when you're doing your certificate or degree program is list the skills that you need to master for that class. Okay, now then when you take all the classes and those 6 to 10 skills that you need to master, that you need to teach your students in every class, when you assemble those skills into a certificate or degree program, you're going to have the list of anywhere between 30 and 100 or 200 skills that represent your ability to do the work of that quote degree. Okay, and that's a powerful example of student learning, and also a powerful example of pedagogical practice, where faculty get to show off and document the fact that their students actually can do the work that they're teaching or say they're teaching in the classroom. Now, again, at Oplerno, a faculty member has to sign off on the fact that you know a particular skill. And if it turns out that you don't know that particular skill, okay, we're able, through an auditing function, to trace it back to the faculty member who signed off on that skill, and we'll be probably dinging their score or a bunch of different things, or letting it know, hey, this faculty member is either really good at documenting skills, really good at showing that the student has gained this knowledge, or they need work on that. And think about how useful that is for employers or for employee searches. So again, one of the things that's really important for us at Oplerno is the notion of opt-in in terms of data sharing. So if you as a student wanted to have your list of skills, wanted to share your list of skills with us in a database that we could then have the employer, a potential person looking for a person who's really good in calculus, C++, but also has knowledge of Spanish, Arabic. Okay, they could come up with the list of 10 or 15 people who worldwide who have that type of knowledge, and with that student's permission, start to take a look at the documented skills surrounding the job that they want. Now, I think one of the greatest, if you want to check out stuff, if you want to check out an example of what I think is a really good skills portfolio in the subject of mathematics, it's Khan Academy's the way in which they're doing the sort of a network, okay, in terms of the math pieces. You have these the charts. Let me pull this up. Okay. You have the chart, and it says, you can see functions, percentages and points. Things build off of each other. The blues are things that have been mastered. The greens are things that you can work on and improve your knowledge. So, remind me tomorrow. Sorry, a thing popped up about updating programs, and we can't do that right now. So, the skills portfolio for a discipline, for a degree program or certificate, also allows students to see, well, what is it that they're going to be learning in the future? What foundations do I need to have to get to the point where I've earned a degree? Or there's all kinds of different things that we can create in terms of, hey, I want to get into small business management. Okay, here are the list of sort of skills that Oplerno has identified as things that people need to know to do that. But I also am really interested in doing that within the context of Urdu because I like working in northern India, okay, and Pakistan. Well, there you go. You can pull up those lists of skills and figure out the foundation with that. So that's what, that's part of what Oplerno is working on, because, Oplerno believes that it's important to learn and document skills competency and earn a degree. Okay, it's a degree right now is important, but again, it doesn't really show what it is that you can actually do. It's kind of it's a brand. I use the analogy of when you're driving down the highway and somebody passes you in a Mercedes, that does not mean they're a good driver. What it means is that they can afford to pay for the Mercedes. Well, in some ways right now, because of student loan debt and because of particular admissions issues, when we take a look at a person with a degree from X institution, we are buying the brand of what we think that the quality of that institution, and we're transferring that notion of the quality of the institution to and that may or may not be accurate. Okay, that may or may not reflect actually the learning that's going on, because isn't the best teachers the ones that have added to your knowledge, added to your skills? And the skills portfolio is a way to start measuring and taking a look and getting into conversations about that. Degrees probably are not. So we're in this transition period. We're still going to have degrees for right now, for the next 10, 15, 20 years, maybe forever. But the degrees have to change and adapt. It can't be, this is the transcript, okay, as the documentation of the skills learned. This doesn't cut it anymore, okay? It's kind of, it's legacy tech, okay, and it doesn't work. It's not useful. It's not useful for the employer, and it's not useful for the job seeker, okay? I can take a look and say basically, oh, this person has knowledge of all these particular things, but do I really have an understanding of their competency relative to other students in their class? Do I really know? I've had classes where, it's advanced class in X subject, but I really wasn't learning advanced concepts or cutting edge ideas. So, but when I took a course in Intro to this roughly the same subject, I was getting exposed to all kinds of innovative and new ways of thinking. So I think the industry, higher ed, is going to have to change the transcript piece, and I also think that the skills documentation and the portfolio piece is going to be increasingly important. Now, at Oplerno, we're going to do the traditional transcript, okay, because that is what that is what people expect. We can't completely transform things overnight. We're going to be heavily concentrating on the creation of a really good electronic skill portfolio on smartphones and laptops. So imagine going into an interview and showing your potential employer exactly what you can do. It's a really important edge for students. So let me talk about the challenges we're facing, okay, in this approach. I mean, this is something that's really at the core of Oplerno's pedagogical revolution for transformation. So that's the pedagogical transition in faculty and students to think about skills and not just grades and classes, okay, and think about documenting those pieces. We're not talking, when we talk about skills, we're not talking about, that notion of, vocational technical of just, doing things. We're also talking about, is skills, is the concept of skills also expanding to the notion of knowledge of a particular area? Well, how do you demonstrate that? Okay, you can't just say a person had, I've taken a course in Intro to French literature. Well, what does that mean? Okay, what competency areas, what knowledge areas should you be able to show? And that should be a discussion that is transparent and shows up on the the knowledge that you've gained should show up on your portfolio. Now let's talk about the technology. Oplerno is really lucky in that we have a absolute wizard with the tech and with design. Daniel Crompton, please don't try to get him to jump ship by offering him more money. That would not be good for us because we really need him. Daniel's a whiz, and he's solved a lot of the basic foundations of the technology in terms of the basic outlines of the database and all of that. What we're still working on is going to be the GUI. Okay, what does this look like? Now I'm showing this picture up here. It's from the movie Prometheus. Okay, and it's the alien architect, where they're showing the different worlds that these different sentient bipeds have colonized, and it was an amazing kind of like graphic representation of both the technological progress that these civilizations have made and where they're located in space and time, and there needs to be a better way, just as we have this. I mean, there's this transcript thing which back in the day did a great job of communicating the classes that someone had for their degree. Okay, you then have Saul Kahn and his genius team at Khan Academy, who've done a really interesting job of creating these hierarchical nested knowledge webs. Okay, but is there a way to change the dynamic of the portfolio of the way in which we take a look at someone's skills and represent it graphically? So that's a technological piece and a design piece that we're really interested in working on and getting out there really quickly. And we're going to go through a couple different iterations, but it's a big part of, again, what we want to be doing at Oplerno. That means that we're going to have data storage in terms of video, audio, and text documentation. And the really nice thing is that data storage costs, where 10 years ago this would have been cost prohibitive, we might just be able to do a certain amount of text. Right now, video and audio and text documentation is relatively simple. Oh, well, not relatively simple. The cost has gone down dramatically. What, though, we have to be concerned with is issues of data privacy, and Oplerno is really, really concerned about that, and we're not going to put our students and our faculty at risk in terms of having all of their things being accessible. And that's something that Daniel's working on, and that the other people are working on, and holding our feet to the fire. These skills databases, this information, student information, has to be private, has to be controlled by the students, and can't be accessible to anyone who isn't authorized by that student to access that information. It's incredibly personal, and we're not going to release something that is not going to be controlled by the user. So yeah, we're not going to be selling data based on person skills unless they opt in. So how do you, the other question, the other big challenge that we've got is, so how do you document critical thinking and problem solving and other soft skills? Okay, this is a really important issue. We at Oplerno don't have all the answers, but I know out there are a bunch of people who do for their disciplines. Okay, an expert in the field of teaching can come up with skills and create documentation that a person can teach well. Okay. In my class that I'm teaching, that you all should sign up for because it's really good, and it only costs $750 for a 3-credit class, 12 weeks, is subverting using technology to subvert hierarchy in the classroom. Okay, and I can document all kinds of different ways in which people use technology to empower students, but other discipline ways of document. Again, edge, really important, needs solving in this area. Okay. Another challenge that we're going to have is, what do teachers think about this auditing function? Okay. In other words, the teacher signs up for the course. Sorry, the teacher says that a particular skill is, a student has a particular skill, then an employer hires that person because they have the skill, but it turns out that the student doesn't, and we go back and we ding that student's score, because we can also, ding that teacher's score, because we have an auditing function. Okay, so no more social passing. Now, I think we all have to be honest with ourselves that in large classrooms where we're teaching 200 students, okay, when I've been in that situation, I really can't guarantee, that the students have learned what I've wanted them to learn on the syllabus. I mean, there's an exam that they may take or a paper that they may take, but I can't guarantee that they've learned the particular skill. So I do, you give a grade that says they've been through the material, they've performed this well on particular examples showing that they are papers, etc. But have they really learned skills and the concepts that I've outlined? Should my reputation as a teacher suffer because I've passed someone who doesn't know really how to do what I said they were going to do on the on my syllabus? I think so, but that's a really different way of looking at teaching, and a real level of accountability that we don't have a lot of in higher ed, high school, or even elementary school. So I think that when you start having that type of accountability, and as a student you demand that type of accountability, class sizes have to get smaller, okay? Which is why we limit class sizes to starting out these students at Oplerno, okay? To document 20 students and their development of 6 to 10 skills for your class over the course of 12 weeks, okay, to really make sure they've got it, that's a lot of work. You have to change some of the things that you're doing pedagogically, and you also have to empower the students. Hey, show me that you can do a phosphorus test. You can record that on a video and you can upload it, and you can walk me through it. You can do that remotely. You could have a faculty member working in Burlington, Vermont, and the students can be all over the world, and you can upload examples of where they're doing the phosphorus test, or where they're teaching a particular skill to young students, where they're working on a reforestation project, and you can document particular skills associated with that. So it is a I wouldn't call it a transformation of education, but it's kind of the way things were in sort of the small one-room schoolhouses in New England, where teachers really got to know their students and really got to understand what their students were doing and thinking about. Okay, so to just to go back and highlight the points. The first is the degree, great, but we also need to have a better way to document the fact that students are learning new skills. Transcripts do a very poor job of actually showing what a student has learned, and we need a new system for a new age. And that new system is a skills portfolio, which shows a web of knowledge, again, records examples of skills that the student has learned, uses video, audio, and text to do that. It's skills portfolios as part of employer and employee searches. Okay. Learn to document skills, competency, and earn a degree. So Oplerno is going to do both, and it will always probably do both. And we've got some really cool things that we'll introduce later on as people are developing their skills. But I can't, I don't want to show all our the secret recipe that we're going to be following in the next 2 years. And then the challenge is that moving from the transcript to the skills to being centered on skills is a real pedagogical transition. Okay. It's a pedagogical transition for faculty in terms of the documentation and thinking of creating skills for particular classes and mastery of certain content areas for classes, and for students to think about as they're choosing courses, as they're choosing faculty members, well, how is this person really good at teaching and giving me the skills and areas of knowledge that I need to move on and improve my life. The technology is mostly solved. The great thing is cheap video, audio, and text documentation, again, allows us to have a much richer amounts of information that we can use to show those, to show a student has mastered skills. But it leaves us with a philosophical, a content, a methodological issue, which is, well, how do you document critical thinking and problem solving and other soft skills, which has always been a problem in education. But, you know, that's the challenge that's in front of us, so let's just be honest and let's deal with it. And finally, as we start tracking skills, it creates a very different system of accountability for teachers. And also an accountability for students. I think, interestingly enough, I think that if we give the portfolio to the students and we allow them to see how things are developing in terms of their understanding and skills, that they're going to take a much bigger ownership of their learning. I think young people, well, I think anybody knows that this doesn't mean very much anymore, okay? And that what we need is, you know, that thing, okay, that portfolio, that visual representation of knowledge that an individual has. Okay, so that's kind of the skills and the certificate piece. What I want to do right now is just share with you a little bit about how, talk a little bit with you all about how we work as a team. Okay. Just so that my team members are not nervous that I'm going to go into our Podio folder, I will exit out of the Podio. Actually, wait, I will show, no, I'm going to exit out of it. Not even going to show it, lest Daniel and Dan and other individuals get on my case for showing all of the various chats and data that we're using with the organization. Sometimes I take transparency too far. Okay, so here's the wiki. And organizing teams remotely is a tricky thing, especially when you're doing degree programs or project development. It's important to remember that Oplerno, Daniel Crompton is located in Europe. Kirk lives in Charlotte. Well, he's not Charlotte. Dan Kirk is in Vermont, and I'm in Vermont. And we've got faculty members who are all over the world. And so, one second. We've got faculty members all over the world, so you can't create, it's very rare that you're going to have face-to-face meetings, especially if you're working with people from all over the planet. And a couple of things that we use are Podio, P-O-D-I-O, .com, and it's actually a free service where it's a project management software. It's free with limited functions, and they do try to get you in to a subscription piece, which we do at Oplerno, and roughly for $9 per user, you have access to an incredible range of tools, including video, audio conferencing, text, and document sharing, common task bar, and the ability to create projects, create deliverables, track tasks, Dan Kirk has created an amazing faculty contact system that, and we're working on creating our, our student database using Podio. And if I was going to be, if I were you all and I was working on a degree program or a certificate program, I'd take a hard look at Podio and see whether you can get your team on it and start, assigning development tasks, etc. That's a phenomenal resource. And again, you can start off with a free trial and see if you like it, and then move on. And full disclosure, they are not paying us money to say this. Okay, we really like the product. It allows us, again, to work with remote teams. The board of directors at Oplerno, they all have access to our workspaces at Podio. They're located in on the West Coast, on the East Coast, all over the place, along with other individuals. We've got a person who is working with us on some issues in China, and she's able to log on and check and communicate with us. So it's a phenomenal content, a project system that you can use. The second piece is, the second tool is, of course, something that you're probably all familiar with, which is Dropbox. Now, we use Dropbox. I'm not, guys, so Dropbox tool that that can get downloaded onto your Mac or your Windows or your Unix system. You can use it via the web on your smartphone, and it allows you to share documents in smaller groups and make sure that those documents are also continuously updated. I like it better than Google Docs, basically because I find it much easier to share, and while and Google has enough of my data anyway, so I like the Dropbox functionality. I think if you're getting started in terms of working with people remotely and trying to organize projects in teams, I'll be honest, I do think the wiki, our wiki spaces is a really great place to start, because it can provide an incredible amount of functionality. And we'll be talking about that. We'll be showing how to use it again. Another example in our working group. For example, the sustainability degree program that we workshopped yesterday for about an hour and a half. Your ability, deal with the discussions, but also to, when you edit something, you can download files, as in video, audio, all kinds of great things, and links and widgets, and you can create a very dynamic landscape. I can show you one wiki. Let's see whether this saves for a second to show you kind of the functionality, especially. So this is a wiki I developed for about 5-6 years ago for one of my classes at UVM, and I'm showing you this to just show you kind of all the different things that you can do. Share video, audio pieces. Since it's accessible by the entire web, you can have people commenting on your work. You can share different. These are different documents that were written by the students about using technology in the classroom, and different things that they thought were really, really important. Again, video, audio, discussions, and for users, for sort of like organizers, you can't assign tasks, but what you can do is you can take a look at when people were interacting and what people were doing. Okay, so it's start off by using, in my opinion, start off with the wiki if you've never done this kind of work before. Start off with a wiki if you've never done this before, experiment with it. Remember that there are other people who are going to go on and edit also, and try to just generate networks where people are talking back and forth and producing content. The final way, which you can also start to organize your projects in your degree or your skills list or what have you, is if you're a faculty member, you can go on to Canvas, and some faculty members have started discussion posts on all kinds of different issues. And that's a great place to meet. Now, one thing to remember is that in the development, even of the skills that you're going to be teaching in the class, or even the skills portfolio, I think it's a really good idea to have students involved in that process. How to teach, and not necessarily telling you what to teach, but telling you if what you're teaching is relevant to to their lives. Getting that kind of feedback from the people who you're working with is critical. And so we can't make our Canvas discussion boards open to everyone on the net. Okay, we can make the wiki that we've got is open to everyone on the net. So we're hoping that as we start driving traffic, as we start increasing traffic, that we're going to the website, and as that traffic increasingly has students, that we're going to be able to get students involved in a big discussion again. When you're talking about when you're talking about the sustainability program, okay, to go back to that, a student can take a look and say, wow, those courses are really, really important, but sustainability also, doesn't involve, building, or the economics of poverty. Well, a student who is from a different part of the world may have a very, very different take on what the concept of poverty means, and them being able to input into either that class that you're developing or that degree program is going to be critical. For example, a big, huge issue in China right now is water quality issues, and also desertification. And so a student who let's say students are from China are logging on to Oplerno and they take a look at the sustainability degree program. They might say, okay, we really need, as part of this certificate or degree program, is there a way that you can talk about ecological restoration of water systems, or ecological restoration for reforestation? And then you have feedback on a subject, on an area of study that is very important to the people who you're supposed to be serving and teaching. And all of that team building piece can happen before you even enter the class if you use tools like the wiki, if you use tools like Canvas, if you also use Podio to help you get your team together and start managing the process of creating things. I also, a last piece before we stop, I think everybody has different management styles, and I'm really lucky in the team that we have that they tolerate mine, and that's managing by tasks, okay? And that we have particular tasks that need to be accomplished. They get assigned. I get assigned tasks. I can do some assignments of some tasks, or we share them, and it allows, for example, us each to kind of organize our lives in the most efficient way possible. We have several of us have kids and families, and young kids, and spouses that work, or different things that we like to do, and the 9-to-5 job doesn't work for everybody all the time. And so by managing by task rather than by time, people can organize their lives the way they want in the most efficient way possible, which makes actually the work that gets accomplished, it increases the pace of that work, and it increases the quality because everybody is a whole lot happier. So I would encourage you, as you're developing the degree programs, you're developing your certificates, or you're working with Oplerno, and maybe you're using Podio or you're using some other system, is that, again, manage by task. Don't manage potentially by task/deadline, but give people the flexibility that they need to, and the tools they need to accomplish what they're up to. And again, to bring it back, if we go to back to this notion of skills, okay, skills expertise. There's more than one way to get the skills or get the range of skills needed to be successful in a particular field. The way that we're designing the skills portfolio fits in with the classes, because while we have a series of signposts and guidelines and skills that people learn for a particular degree, how they get to that degree is flexible. And that flexibility, we also feel, is going to lead to a whole lot lower non-completion rates and a whole lot more happiness on the part of the students and a whole lot of happiness on the part of the teachers too. So thank you very much for your time and for listening to this talk. We're going to be workshopping an event coming up in 15 minutes, and feel free to shoot us any questions that you have. I'm going to unshare my screen, and I'm going to check my messages for just a second in case there were a few questions. Look at me not getting in trouble with sharing my screen. Okay, guys, I can see the group chat, but nobody else can. So can you tell me, were there any questions that came over? Woodblock, class deliverables, graded items should always be relevant outside of class. Traditional units are not agile enough. Traditional universities aren't agile enough to implement that. Very true. I'm finishing a doctorate where the competency portfolio, including competency critical reflections with examples. That's great. Yeah, and it's, there's a whole lot of, I don't want to leave the impression that Oplerno is the only people that are thinking about this or doing it right. There's a lot of groups that are, but we really want to place this at the core of what we're up to and really have it be scalable and accessible to everybody. Okay, so thank you very much for the comments. We'll see you guys in remind folks that the workshop on a business degree is in 45 minutes, so at 10:30. Thanks, Dan Kirk, for telling me. So we're going to start the workshop on the business degree in 45 minutes. It would be great if you're attending that. Make sure that you, we'll start creating the page from the get-go, and look for us online. And thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you in 45 minutes or 40 minutes.